All right, the expectation is capable or palpable, I should say, right now, as of course we are looking for the next 5 years of President Uhuru Kenyatta. And we're asking you this morning, what do you expect from President Uhuru Kenyatta as he begins his second term? What do you expect from President Uhuru Kenyatta as he begins his second term? You can hit us on Twitter. AMLiveNTV is a Twitter handle. Also, AMLiveNTV is our profile name on Facebook. Head over there and let's start chatting to just see where Kenya is at right now as far as expectation is concerned. And I'm holding court this morning with Professor Noah Midamba, who's an expert on defense and foreign policy, also the Vice Chancellor of KCA University. Also, we do have with us Dr. Mumo Nzau, who is a governance expert. We have Dr. Mustafa who is a conflict and resolution expert. And also we have Dr. Oliver Kisaka, who is a chaplain at Africa University, International University, and also he is a chaplain there. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Right, so we have a lot to cover today, starting here in the country, and expectations that, of course, Kenyans will be having, expecting President Uhuru Kenyatta to deliver in the next 5 years. We have key pledges from the president, but maybe just to get a feeling of what was your take from yesterday's inauguration. Let's begin with you, Dr. Mustafa.
Yeah, Debarl, I'm still shocked at the sight of seeing a young child, baby Geoffrey Mutinda, in a pool of blood.
Yes.
Whoever did such an action, whether police or whoever that person is, must be brought to book today. If that person is wearing a police uniform, then that must be a thug in a police uniform. Mm-hmm. That's a gangster. If that was done deliberately, if it was due to careless mistake by a police officer shooting aimlessly, then that person does not belong to the police force. Mm-hmm. And should be arrested and arraigned in the court of law. Mm-hmm.
Right, let's hear from Oliver Kisaka. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Debarl. Good to see you after your break.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, Debarl, I share Dr. Mustafa's sentiments that it's very difficult sometimes to come on TV on a morning like this and make comments on issues at the background of the negatives. I intended myself thinking about appearance this morning to discuss more positively about how our country may move forward. And I hope that does not appear as if we are indifferent to the pain that many Kenyans are going through. Poleni sana. Let's pray that God helps us to move forward as a country.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's hear from Dr. Mumo Nzau.
Yeah, Debarl, I'm glad that a point is coming that the country can sort of move on. We have a head of state, and you know, it has been done in line with the Constitution. But more importantly, we cannot assume that there are challenges on the side and so on. And the head of state was very promising in his address that he will bring all Kenyans on board and work with them. But more importantly is for our people to realize the country that the best way, the best reference point is our institutions, our constitution, our laws. There's no other way. There's something that Aristotle once said, that if you can live outside the organized and regulated society, then you're either a god or a beast. And you cannot live outside an organized and regulated society. And I think there is a lot of bright future for us, for the country, if we can be under the mantle of our institutions. They are not the best, but we can keep perfecting them, because now is the best time to consolidate our democracy. Despite the challenges. For example, this is a child, it's so sad, this is a child who has been shot. Where should we look? The independent Police Oversight Authority to immediately find out who was in charge of that party in terms of the riot party, and who fired, so that it's an individual, and then the independent Police Oversight Authority should make recommendations immediately on that, so that justice is served. That is how we live in an organized and regulated society. It is not easy that a policeman, just an ordinary person, can just wake up and say, today I will shoot a child. But this has happened, and that is reckless, because this is someone who, if it was a police officer and if that is what happened, that is very wrong. And it is the institution involved, and those institutions are there, they're anchored in our constitution. And the best thing to do is stick. Let us put the constitution, the laws, and the institutions therein to be our guiding star as a nation.
Thank you. Professor Noah Midamba.
Debarl, welcome back.
Thank you.
I joined with my colleagues this morning, number one, by saying that the Supreme Court of our land has spoken. The president has been duly installed. He needs to be given room to govern the affairs of the state. Having said that, I think it will be a mistake to sweep under the rug more than half of the voters in Kenya that have expressed very deep concern about the affairs of the state and the direction we are taking. So Honorable Raila must not be taken for granted and must not be brushed off as a mere noisemaker. We need to understand the issues that and the aspirations of millions of Kenyans who are suffering, and address that appropriately. The president is now in charge. I will begin by making a direct phone call to Honorable Raila, and not speaking on television or the radio, in order for these two people to really come together to have a common agenda. That is possible. President Obama was able to reach to the redneck and the professor at Harvard University, and we had what's called a beer diplomacy.
Yes.
And it works. It brought the country together. It pains me to see a child as Mutinda lying in a pool of blood as a result of action that should never have happened. And someone somewhere in the hierarchy of the police is responsible for committing this kind of act, because I maintain that the rank and file police will not behave the way they are behaving unless they are being given command in order to behave that way. So who is that responsible? Enough is enough, Kenyans. Enough is enough. We can no longer continue to see one more Kenyans, one more child die for nothing. Let us have a meaningful dialogue. Let us address issues, real issues that are affecting this country now and into the future.
All right, and because we can see that this is not the first time it's happening. We have two incidents that we know we've buried young children because of the recklessness of police, right? And they always say that, yes, we'll come with an investigation. Investigation is ongoing. Up to now, even the Independent Policing Oversight Authority has not come up with a report from what happened with the brutality and the killings in Mumias as well. We're still waiting 1 year down the line. So are we going to expect any discernible difference this time forth, because this is the second time it's happening, and we'll get just the same statement. We'll be investigating what really happened. It was a stray bullet. Why then were they also shooting live bullets as well? Dr. Mustafa.
Debarl, President Uhuru Kenyatta is having his second and last term in office.
Yes.
And it will be about his legacy. The buck stops right on his desk. He's sworn to the Constitution that he's going to protect all lives, and therefore he must ask questions about the uncalled for loss of lives. The president has, based on his speech yesterday, has put each and every state officer on notice that he is not going to expect professional indolence. He is going to have that the taxpayers' shilling is used well, that all government officials are going to have to serve the Kenyan community. And this means that that child that was killed yesterday,
yes,
it is up to the IGP to make sure that that investigate, and the DPP, that investigation is concluded today, so that whoever killed that boy can be brought to book. It's up to IPOA to move if then the police are not moving to arrest that person that has killed that boy. But Debarl, the thing here is we are working, and Kenya is moving onto a path of a political extremism. When I hear some politicians speaking the way they are speaking, you cannot have a rally that purports to want to swear in another person other than that has been elected by the Kenyan people
we'll come to
through the
that
constitutional process.
We'll come to that much later in the course of the program, but we want to hover around the brutality of police, because now I think this cannot really go unchecked. If we don't really vocalize, if we don't really talk about it, then it will just taper off, and then we'll be waiting for another investigation, which we don't know when it will actually come to bear. So the question is this, because we're given to understand there was a security meeting even before this, before the inauguration, and orders were given that yes, police have also been given that directive, order to you can shoot live bullets, right? And this is actually was seen yesterday, that particular directive was being executed, and a stray bullet went and killed a young boy. In light of that, because they were aware that yes, there's going to be a rally that is going to run concurrently with the inauguration, and they were to use whatever means to stop this particular rally. Should they have not given this directive, do you think things will have panned out very differently?
Debarl, in my opening remarks, I think it's clear to Kenyans that I already said that it's really sad that you can come to a morning like this when you are feeling the pain. How I would like to approach this morning's discussion is to look at our democracy in totality, and to appreciate that the key players in our democracy today are part of the process that has helped this country move from the days of autocracy to an increasing opportunity for civility. In the process, I'm trained to be a mathematics physics teacher in my first degree. And as a mathematics physics teacher, you do not either mark a student 100 or 0. You grade them according to performance. Mm-hmm. If we were to grade our country in terms of its performance, whether it's at 40% or at 60%, I would say that we have made progress. And when we discuss in reactionary terms in the context of pain, we may miss out the overall picture. I would sit here this morning and commend the Honorable Raila Odinga for being one of the very significant players in the process of the reintroduction of democracy in this country, the progress of democratic practice, and it's an ongoing thing. I would sit here and commend the Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta for the way he has steered the process of democratization in the last 5 years. I feel pain not to be able to say I congratulate Uhuru Kenyatta for his win and Honorable William Ruto because of the fear of being misunderstood, not to be feeling the pain of those who are in pain. But I remember when we were doing the Constitution, we were in the same camp with the Honorable William Ruto. And on the morning it was declared that yes had won by 2/3 to 1/3 against the no. The Honorable, we met as a team of the no team. And the Honorable William Ruto said, in politics, when your opponent wins, it means you have been outsmarted. It does not, you cannot begin to discuss how did they do it. It means you have been outsmarted. That's what the Honorable William Ruto told us.
Yes.
And then he said, in politics, we have something called banking. We have won 33% of the votes. We want to go and bank that. And the way to bank it is to accept that you have lost. So we separated ways between the church and the political leaders. The political leaders went and made a statement and said, the majority has won, but the minority have had their say. That is how the political class was able to move on. For us as the church, we felt the pain because the rest of the people had the political power, and I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, the two people leading the team were the Honorable Raila and the Honorable Kibaki. And so as the church, we said we accept, we congratulate them for winning, and we said let's implement the Constitution. Debarl, what we are seeing now are the bottlenecks, the pains, the struggles of what it means to institute a new constitution. If you come from a country whose past has been major autocracy, and you are in the process of freedom that is unprecedented, there is panic everywhere, and nobody knows how to handle this. I would like to call upon the Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta and the Honorable William Ruto, their excellencies. They have been sworn in. Whatever happened in this election, they have outsmarted the opposition. Today, they are the president and the deputy president. Today, they have the responsibility to lead the country forward. Let them look for ways in which this country can be facilitated to move forward. And I don't know whether I heard wrong or right, because there was a statement earlier which said that the Honorable Raila had said that he would not go by unconstitutional means. I said here, just before we went through these processes, the safest way is for us to follow the Constitution. The IEBC had no choice but to follow the Constitution. NASA and Jubilee had no alternative but to follow the Constitution. We are still waiting what Justice Maraga and his team are going to say cost them to make the ruling they made the second time. But it's going to bring us details of their analysis. But I think one of the challenges that they may have faced is that the people for whom they created a second opportunity did not avail themselves to go through the process, which means that it's difficult to say whether they were wronged or they were not. And so when you see police and others, and I'm not holding brief for the police or for any of the political leaders,
yes,
what you see is that the country is struggling in the context of trying to implement a new constitution that provides, you could almost call them excess freedoms on all sides, and facing the perhaps 10 to 20% of those who are unable to deal with the civic competence required of people operating under such a new constitution. I would say to myself, I am a voter, I have preferences, but if my preferences went through, I am happy. If my preferences did not go through, I may be feeling pain, but the majority have had their say. The majority have won, the minority have had their say. I think the country should move forward and then be tasked to actually take the police team through a process of education. We now have 4 years in which we can actually re-educate our police and help them progress in terms of how to operate under a new constitution. So I've taken a long time, but I really wanted so that when we are here,
yes,
and we are able to say the country was on the brinks of disaster just 3 weeks ago, today we are a peaceful country that has sworn in a president. I think we should not blame ourselves for the 20-30% that we missed.
Yes.
We should commend ourselves for the satisfactory remark that would come from a teacher's pen. You made 55%, what you are told is satisfactory, but you are told can do better next time.
So, gentlemen, let's continue with this discussion. And Professor Noah Midamba, these were the pledges. And of course, we can hack back to 2013 as well, when Uhuru was taking his pledge. Some of them, they're just more or less the same, right? What is diametrically different? You handle economy and graft. What do you expect from the president on this?
Debarl, the president has a lot on his plate.
Yes.
I was impressed with the conciliatory tone that he set out yesterday, embracing the Kenyan people and also talking about our partnerships with our neighbors in a way that refreshing. You know, if you are a Kenya or a friend of this country. However, the practice all over the world dictate that the president himself cannot achieve those things unless he's surrounded by the right type of people, unless he has a room on which to maneuver and make pledges reality. The issue of corruption, which he has addressed, which eat into our economic well-being and everything else that we are attempting to do, is a very serious issue. And therefore, I'm expecting the president to have people who can not only disagree with him, but completely support his agenda. Kennedy did it. Obama achieved a lot for America, and though Trump is trying to undercut that. And so the president is going to need the right type of people. This is his last 5 years. He needs to work toward his legacy rather than becoming a popular president. The economy has taken downturn because of our political, what we call political shenanigans. Our externalities is reputation that Kenya have, is down. Investors are holding off, watching what's going on here. Local people, you see Nakumatt has gone down, a number of, a layoff thousands of people, a number of companies are down. They don't know the next step. The corruption is eating at everything. The cartel is running literally the city of Nairobi. They're running our water system, they're running our transportation system, they're running everything. And over a week ago, I was in London, one of the oldest cities in the world. Everything is moving, transportation is moving, and you can move from one state to another on time. There is no question. Garbage is collected. We have garbage collection in Nairobi. They're old trucks that cannot even move. There used to be a time when garbage collection in Nairobi was very efficient. Our water system is being turned off by cartel, and the same cartel are selling water to us. Electricity goes off and on because of cartel. The president must hammer and hone on those people who are destroying the very basic of our economic well-being. And we must be able to establish through a combined efforts of our diplomats, we must be able to reawaken and reinvent and re-engineer our image. But our image cannot look any better outside if we don't do something inside. I want to say this,
yes.
Debarl, at the end. Yes, we are ethnically divided, and we should not have been divided. But I'm saying there is only two tribes in Kenya.
Yes.
There are those who have, and there are those who don't. And those who don't are the majority. And among them are a vast number of young, restless people. Unless we address that squarely, unless we address that,
thank you,
then we have a time bomb
on
our hand.
Okay, let's hear from Dr. Mumo Nzau, looking at health.
That's right.
We will, over the next 5 years, target achieving 100% universal healthcare. 100% universal healthcare. Do you think the president is over-promising?
Well, I think it's a good thing to set targets and so on. Remember, he is going to be working very closely within the schedule in the Constitution in terms of the devolved government setting. Remember, we have the counties, and there's a way the national government can rope in and ensure that this happens. Social security. You see, all these matters, say health, housing, and so on, and he mentioned good things about housing and all this. They are critical in, requisite conditions for achievement of higher security objectives, what we call the military strategic issues, because these are the key structural conditions that if they're well addressed, then the country becomes automatically more secure. And therefore, and that is what Professor Midamba was even alluding to, that if we have more of have-nots getting welfare, getting into being part of the mainstream economy, and getting value for taxes and so on, then we can have, because you see, these are basic things, and this is a good approach, and so on. And just to touch a little bit on the unity thing, exclusion, and really, technically, this constitution was a good thing, because we have 47 counties, we have governors, and we have county assemblies and executives. And if everything can run well, no one can claim in this country to be excluded. We can have these ethnic problems, but the bottom line is that every county has a budget of its own, and people can hold very local leaders. My MCA, you came, the MCAs used to do door to door, they know everyone. So what did you do? You, MCA, what did you do? You accepted an IEBC certificate.
Yes.
And you're getting a salary. You, the MP, you, the senator, the governor, and then the head of state now with the cabinet and so on, so that it can all work. So I think some of them may be, of course, you need to set a target, but they can achieve a lot if we stop all the noise on the side and just focus. This can happen.
All right.
These are good things.
All right. Dr. Mustafa, the issue of land and also the issue of jobs, and of course, whichever, with the pledge there that really think you can actually handle as well.
Thank you, Debarl. One of the most significant, if I may say, existential threat to this country is the way land is utilized, owned, and the conflicts surrounding land issues. Of course, we talk about ISIS, Al-Shabaab. That's not more. They don't pose more threats than does land. And what we've seen in Laikipia, for example, Debarl, what we've seen in parts of Coast, the land clashes from 1992, 1997, the challenges that we have with the relationships between the the ranchers and the grazers, the communities that should be grazing their cattle in Laikipia. Those are some of the issues that Uhuru will have to deal with. And he is the right person to deal with those issues for the simple reason that of historical attachment, historical involvement of the first family and the issues of land. Some of those reports that are out, the Ndungu Land Report, TJRC, you have the first family being mentioned a lot. Some of it I meant to understand unfairly. They are not the largest owners of land in this country. Now, the way land has the land tenure that is coming to an end, the leases of 99 years, the way that is being renewed or cancelled to be given to other people is what many Kenyans are questioning. And that is going to be a challenge. Part of what is challenging that is the graft and corruption involved at RV House.
Yes.
The issue of jobs, Debarl, and this is where the president and his administration will need to work very hard, is the creation of jobs to the young people. What was contained in the promises made by Jubilee is that each and every graduate or whoever is coming out of the college will be given internship, government paid internship. If that is going to be accomplished, then it's going to address a lot of issues to do with joblessness among the youth, so that the youth can be taken off the streets and being, whether it's taken to industries and organizations, whether in the form of apprenticeship or paid internship. That is going to help this country move forward. But again, back to the issue of land. In the Rift Valley, in Coast Province, in Nairobi, and many other pockets around the country, we've seen that the conflicts that have been caused by land before have been the ones that actually have remained unresolved until today, and likely to cause more conflicts in future.
All right. Do you think also the land reforms that we had a task force actually looking also for what has been happening with the lapse of the lease time lapse that were given, the 99 years? There's a task force that was put out there to come up with a report on this as well. And also the Ministry of Land has come up with reforms that we are yet to talk about. Do you think also that can bring a discernible difference? Or is this just another report then it will just be accumulating dust?
If they are just going to make a report, then it's not going to help this country. Kaimeni had better just disband that committee before it even starts working. He said that they need a lot of financial resources to do that work. The problems affecting this country in terms of land are contained in the Ndungu report, in the TJRC report. We do not need another report. What we need to do is to act on those recommendations that we can act on now. Those that can be acted on a little bit later, because again, there are emotive issues in that TJRC report, so we shouldn't be. We need to look at it holistically, but we need to look at others that cannot be implemented and then find ways to implement that. We do not need another report, Debarl. And the president should be asking the various departments, ministries, commissions to implement the recommendations that have already been done through those reports, or rather been recommended through those reports, so that we can move forward.
All right. Dr. Kisaka, handling the issue of leadership, in the spirit of inclusivity, I will work to incorporate some of their ideas, that is his political rivals. This is what Uhuru is saying. And also, maybe you can also couple that with unity. It is fine for us to disagree while enhancing our bonds of unity and nationhood. This is number 1 and number 8 of the Daily Nation this morning. Right now that we know, yes, Kenya as it is, we must be very sincere and open that, yes, it will be an Herculean task for President Uhuru Kenyatta to try and unite Kenyans, because everyone is actually drawing, you know, the line in the sand. We know Raila Odinga has said that on the 12th is going to be inaugurated as the president, that with a scare quote, of course, of Kenya. What would you say when we are facing the issue of leadership and also the issue of unity, inclusivity?
Yes. First, it's an interesting thing that the way I evaluate the political class, Debarl, is that they play by 2 sets of rules.
Yes.
There's the constitutional, and there is the streetwise.
Yes.
And there's a gap between those two, because the constitutional rules have certain demands which lay very significant steps for the progress of Kenya going forward. But you can see in both camps efforts to undermine what the Constitution says to take advantage of the other.
Yes.
I'm not so sure that when President Uhuru says that he will incorporate the ideas of the other side, that the other side is receiving it with great joy and happiness. It may be political smartness on the part of those who have won. It is certainly something for the opposition to grind their teeth about. I think what we need to realize is that we are a democracy, and when the majority have won, they have actually won, unless you can prove in a court of law that they did not win correctly. It's the only constitutional way in which this is provided. And if I may just digress, for the sake of the future of leadership in this country, Justice Maraga and his team must be commended for the way they have handled this entire process. And the president himself actually, in not so explicit terms, actually retracted his previous statement when he said that our Wakora, which was a very unfair and unfortunate statement. The judiciary, for the first time in this country, has demonstrated a capacity to be independent and therefore to be an adjudicator between Kenyans in all matters that concern Kenya. I think an institution like this, which hopes to do its work above board without corruption and to make independent decisions, I think is a fantastic beginning point for this country. Now, the president's pledge on leadership, number one, must be first for him to be true to his promise to Kenyans, the promise that got him elected in the first place. Secondly, then, when he is reaching out to the other side, he is reaching out like any other magnanimous person would reach out. It's not necessarily the case that the other side would accept, because they are also struggling to dislodge him. And I would advise against using unconstitutional means, because when you use unconstitutional means, what guarantees that what you gain, somebody else will not use unconstitutional means against you? You know, you must sow what you want to harvest. And so let's continue to urge our elder brother, statesman. The temptations are great, the pain is great, but uphold the law, which you so ably helped steer the country to bring into place. Uphold the law. And I would say that one of the things government should do is not to disadvantage the leader of the official opposition because he has run such a serious campaign that gave them a run for their money. They should be able to accord him all the facilities that are required, the funding that is required for him to continue playing his role and marshalling his troops. So I would say, in terms of leadership, let there be efforts to reach out, but let it not be based on the naivety that when you reach out and when you take the ideas of the other side and include them, you are doing a nice thing to them. The third thing I will say is that having worked with both leaders from a church perspective in the past, and I need to clarify to Kenyans that I ceased being the Deputy General Secretary of NCCK at the end of 2014. So when I speak, I'm not speaking on behalf of NCCK.
Yes.
I do not wish to give that impression to the public. I'm currently chaplain of Africa International University. What I want to say, having worked with both leaders in the time I was Deputy General Secretary of NCCK, I realized that both leaders have certain fantastic qualities. When they have decided to do something, they can actually do it. If there's one thing people may not realize about President Uhuru, is that if he decrees something, and he can actually achieve it. He can follow through and pursue what he has said. I don't know what happened in the first term. Could it have been a balancing act of the various squares that were in his camp? Could it have been in anticipation of the second term? If that was the case, he now has an opportunity being in his last term, to actually decree things and work with his cabinet and whoever to follow those things through. If it is graft, let us see significant efforts to actually sort out graft. And he has called on the judiciary not to go into the activist mode, where everything that comes to court, you put an injunction unnecessarily and make it difficult for us to sort out the things that need to be sorted out. And on this very show, I have said before that there should be coordination between the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature for the sake of the good of this country, beyond politics. Mm-hmm. Yes, beyond politics, for the good of the country. So let him strengthen the judiciary, let him strengthen the opposition, let him give the opposition grace to be able to function as an opposition, let him retrain the police so that the police do not continue to give the impression that they are an arm of Jubilee. They are police for the country, not for Jubilee. Let them not use excessive force in the camps of NASA and almost no force in the camp of Jubilee, so that they are seen to be fair and to be equitable. And then let him just continue to pursue what is right. Mm-hmm. In any cases where he invites the opposition and they are willing to come, I think he should take the opportunity for the sake of the unity of the country. And then on the question of jobs, my take, Debarl, is that there's no shortage of jobs in this country. There's only shortage of integrity. I want to say that there are very few people who are as equipped for job creation in this country as the supporters of NASA. They are almost the leaders in any technical field you can imagine in this country. People don't appreciate this. And I think government should have policies that support people who are involved in technical work. The so-called Juakali should graduate from being Juakali to being job creators. Because these are the people who actually keep this economy going and who really employ so many people in a very creative way. There has been no effort to actually uphold them and create opportunity for them, credit facilities that facilitate them, create industrial parks that can give them access to be able to really do their best. The best tailors in this country, if I'm not wrong, and I may be forgiven for saying something like this, are in the NASA camp. They're the best tailors. If they were to be allowed to exercise their gifts, you know, and to be facilitated to grow their work, they are some of the best in the country. We don't have to buy suits in Italy and in the US. They can be bought right here. So I'm just saying, this country thinks so much in a certain box. We are actually fixated on one office called the presidency, when there is so much in the country that can be harnessed for the great benefit of everybody. So I am proposing myself that there be a shift in the way we approach, the way we engineer our society, and create opportunity for the expression of the various creativities available among our people.
All right, thank you.